If you come to Port Sunlight, or maybe it's more like Port Bumlight, you're going to see quite a lot of naked bodies in painting and in sculpture. This is because in art, even in the 18th and 19th century that we think of as quite repressed, it was all right to show naked or nude people as long as it was sort of understood that they weren't real people. Even figures like this, Antinous, who is the young Greek-Turkish lover of the Emperor Hadrian, were allowed to be shown nude. And this is because it was understood that people who were nude, who had never been dressed at all really, they weren't properly naked, were outside of normal everyday behavior. You couldn't go swanning down the center of Port Sunlight or Hyde Park in a state of undress, but it was all right if you were in a painting or a sculpture. That's not to say there weren't some scandals, but it was absolutely fine to show the idealized body like this. Antinous was the young lover of the Emperor Hadrian, and they had a bit of an age gap relationship. And in October 130 AD, Antinous fell in the Nile and drowned, and the Emperor Hadrian was very, very sad. And because of this, he deified or made Antinous into a god. This is why there are so many beautiful sculptures of this one young man, because the emperor turned him into a figure to be worshipped. He is one of the most depicted people from antiquity, and we're very lucky to have such a beautiful sculpture. Now, this was heavily restored in the 18th century, but we really get a sense of how beautiful Antinous was, even just from the backside. This painting, The Judgment of Paris by William Etty, shows the three major Olympian goddesses, Aphrodite or Venus, depending on if you're Greek or Roman, Minerva or Athena, or Juno or Hera, competing to find out who is the most beautiful goddess with the shepherd Paris. Now, Paris is going to go on to cause the Trojan War by kidnapping Helen, the most beautiful human woman, but here Etty is really showing off how much he loved painting naked people. Etty was a bit of a scandalmonger in this fact. Even in the 19th century, it was considered a bit much how often he went to the life drawing classes after he graduated from the Royal Academy schools. And he was really inspired by earlier generations of painters, like the Italian Renaissance, but also people like Rubens, who painted the great flashy blonde nudes of the Golden Age. And here we see how Etty is interested in three different types of feminine beauty by showing off their lovely backsides and their lovely front sides. But there's an ancient joke about the kinds of women Odysseus liked. He liked redheads, he liked blondes, and he liked brunettes. And in Etty's painting, you can see a ginger, a blonde, and a brunette all laid out with all of that lovely flesh, and particularly this wonderful shapely bottom on display. Leighton was one of the great academic painters of the 19th century. He was the president of the Royal Academy, and he really led the way on life drawing and painting from the nude. But he did it in a way that was sort of stylized and idealized, so there wasn't this worry about the fact that we have these young, beautiful boys and young girls modeling professionally. It had become almost respectable at the time, but in Leighton's great Daphnephoria, one of the biggest paintings in the collection, you have almost right at the mathematical center of the painting, this beautiful young boy's nude bottom, and the whole painting almost revolves around it. And what this does is it really shows how skilled Leighton was at painting the human body. Being able to paint the nude with a naked body was a sign of real artistic skill. It was the most important thing an artist could do. And to be able to do it tastefully without arousing the senses was the best thing that an artist could do to sell a painting and to show off how good they were. Now here, all of these other draped figures would have been drawn naked to begin with, and there are wonderful drawings of these all in different collections. We have a few, but here it really gives you the sense that this is ancient Greece, that it is warm, it is summer, and the young people are celebrating. They are out, they are nude, and they are having a great time. This is Edward Onslow Ford's Snowdrift, made in about 1901. And Onslow Ford was one of the leading sculptors of what's called the new sculpture, often in inverted commas, but not always. And this was done right at the end of his life. It was modeled a few weeks before he died. and it shows this symbolic figure of a nude young woman, quite a young girl in fact, on a snowdrift. And her very, very slim body symbolizes perhaps the end of Onslow Ford's life, perhaps this victim in the snow, in the cold, but it also shows how changing body types happen in art. Originally, you have something like Etty with these very fleshy, very sensual bodies. In Fred Leighton, you have this very slim classical body. And by the time we're into the 20th century, you start getting these much slimmer, younger, more bony bodies that are not idealized to the same way. We can imagine that the model for this was actually this slim, that you could see her hip bones, you could almost count her ribs, that the idea of the changing ideals of beauty is something that is expressed in painting and in sculpture. But you also get this sense of the coldness that's happening, the cold of the marble, the cold of the jade, through these mixed media. This is probably the sexiest sculpture in National Museum's Liverpool's collection. This is Salammbô by Maurice Ferrari, and this is based on a novel written by Gustave Flaubert, the French author. And this is a story set in Rome and Carthage in the 3rd century. And this classical veil, although she is not veiled, is sort of a way for authors and artists to get around concerns around nudity, sexuality, and even eroticism. Salammbô was the daughter of a general, and she went into the enemy camp to reclaim a veil, a sacred veil that brought good luck to her father's army and to her people. And before she did this, she wrapped herself in a python, which was a symbol of good luck, a good luck charm. And that's what's happening here. This beautiful white marble body with her gold ankle chains is being embraced very sensually by this bronze serpent, and she's leaning back against a pole, and the idea is that you walk around it, and from all of the different angles you get this different view of her personal charms. And from this view you can see that very shapely bottom, and as you come around, the snake is embracing and caressing her flesh in different ways. This was probably the most modern stylistically work that Lord Lever bought for the collection, and it is a bit of a shock compared to some of the earlier neoclassical and even the paintings that he had in his collection.